hey, I'm looking to expand my business to this state, or just generally speaking, what states offer reciprocity? Because you'll want to know that going into it, because there are several licenses that offer multi-state already. Probably the greatest and largest example is the NASCLA accredited exam. As you're going to get licensed, a lot of guys live near borders. And what you'll find is obviously you get licensed for that specific state, and some other states will not offer what they call reciprocity, meaning that you're going to go through your examination process, your application process, you're going to get approved. Excited for you. Absolutely awesome. Let's say you live near the border of where Georgia meets Tennessee and South Carolina. Is you could be getting work in either of those areas as you're expanding your business, and you don't want to have to go get licensed in Georgia and then 3 years later go get licensed in Tennessee, and a year later go get licensed in South Carolina and go through the whole process again. So one of the other things I encourage you to look into, or ask if we end up connecting down the road, is, hey, I'm looking to expand my business to this state, or just generally speaking, what states offer reciprocity? Because you'll want to know that going into it, because there are several licenses that offer multi-state already. Probably the greatest and largest example is the NASCLA accredited exam. Basically, you're already licensed in over a dozen states as far as your GC portion. That covers your trade exam, so you'll never need to take that trade exam again in the states that participate in that, which is basically the entire Southeast and a handful of states out west. Ranges from the Virginias, the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, all the way over to Louisiana, everywhere in between, including Tennessee, and a handful of states out west. And they're continuing to grow and expand. Awesome situation, super beneficial. And then on some of the smaller licenses or different trades, there are certain states that offer reciprocity and others that don't. So just something good to go into it, as opposed to going in and getting your license for one state, knowing that you plan on picking up work elsewhere, knowing that you already do work elsewhere. It's good question to know on the front end, so that you can make sure you're going for the right exam and the right license, as opposed to having to double the work. You want to be able to do half the work and get twice the return. So just something to throw out there.
Yeah, that's a great point. That is something that comes up a lot. People assume that they just need to get one license and they're good to go everywhere, and that's not the case.
A lot of states won't accept them, or they say that they'll accept them, but there's stipulations. Oftentimes what I see the most frequently, because we got to remember, it's also, you getting licensed is also an income generator for the state too. So first of all, they want to make sure you're qualified and you're doing good work, because they don't want the liability of bad business in their state. So typically what I see is if you haven't had your license for an extended period of time, in order to gain your license somewhere else, they may not require you to do the trade exam, but they'll require you to do their business in law or business in finance. Again, this is, I think, an often overlooked aspect, is guys go, I've been building homes my whole life, I know exactly what I'm doing. That's awesome, but once you're getting licensed, you're a business entity. And so there's responsibility that comes along with that, and the state needs to see that you have an understanding of that. And a lot of times you're doing the work in the field all the time, but maybe you are not familiar with lien law or contracts in those areas. And it'll be very beneficial for you as you're scaling your own business, but it will be a necessity. So some of these states, even though they offer reciprocity, will still require you to do their specific business exam, which fortunately those are typically smaller ones, typically out of one book, so less arduous, if you will, but definitely something that you want to get as many facts as possible. And it just made me think of another thing here is when you're going for your license, as I shared at the beginning, is you want to go for what you're qualified for. And so what we'd encourage is you want to get the biggest license you qualify for, even if you don't plan on using that component of it for the next 2 or 3 years or 10 years, just so you don't have to go back and do it again. Now, if you've done commercial work, residential and commercial work your whole life, but you have zero desire to do anything commercial, well, great, you'd qualify for the commercial. But if you know you're not touching it, you have zero desire, and you know for a fact you're never gonna do it, well, then just do the residential, and that's totally fine. But if there's any chance at all that down the road, and you never know how your business is gonna grow, if you go, oh, well, I'll never do commercial, you get the residential license, and then you kind of, sometimes you take the work where the money's at. And so sometimes things shift, whether it's in the economy, in the region, whatever's going on, you have opportunities through different networking, where now all of a sudden you're getting all this commercial work, and you're back at square one again. Now you got to go back and take the commercial exam, and you got to go through the whole process of studying books and investing the time, energy, and money again, which obviously we look to make it as seamless and simple as possible, but it's going to be an investment. And so it's an investment you want to make once and then get a return on forever, instead of having to do it multiple times.